Alright, besties, let's talk about living in the end. Law of assumption style, of course. So, what exactly does living in the end mean? So, living in the end means you mentally and emotionally reside in the reality where your desire is already fulfilled. You think, feel, and act as if it's done. Because in the spiritual, metaphysical sense, it is already done. It's not pretending, it's assuming. You're not faking or forcing anything. You're simply assuming the version of you that already has what you want and persisting in that version. So an example, you're not trying to manifest money. You live like someone who already is financially secure. You're not waiting for your SP to choose you. You know you're already in that relationship. And you move through the day with that inner confidence and inner peace. So we all know the 3D world is a mirror. When you assume a new version of reality and persist in it, reality rearranges to reflect it back to you. Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling in the wish fulfilled. That's what living in the end is. How do I actually do this? Okay, well, first thing, choose the end result. What would your life look like if you had this? You want to think from it, not of it. Don't think about getting it. Think as if it's already yours. And then you want to affirm it, visualize it, speak from it. Say, I'm already this person. I'm already her, I'm already him, I have it now, it's done. Ignore the 3D. If something contradicts your desire, remind yourself, that's old. I already have what I want. Now remember, with living from the end, now this is true for everything, but you don't manifest what you want. But, living in the end, you manifest who you are being. So be this person now, the version of you who already has it, and stay there. But me personally, living in the end like that wasn't realistic, so that's why I robotically affirm, truthfully. Yes, living in the end is absolutely possible. You're pretty much embodying the version of yourself that already has this, and that wasn't always easy for me to do, so I just affirmed. Like, don't stress about living in the end. Do not stress about it. It's kind of saying, try to stay as this version as much as possible, but it's not about how long you stay there, it's just how often you return to it. Now, embodying the version of yourself is completely possible, but it's just not realistic for a lot of people. Now, when we do robotically affirm, we do tend to start embodying this version, absolutely. We get into the state, but sometimes we're not always in that state, right? I was not in that state a lot when I was manifesting my shit. Like, honestly, I was not. I was not the person that had it. I was just affirming. I was using repetition, creating this assumption. But I was not embodying the version who had it. I was not living in the end at all. Now, I was affirming as if I already had it. That's my version of living in the end. That's how I take living in the end. And maybe that's not correct because I wasn't really embodying the person. I was just affirming. But, when I was getting evicted, I was like, I'm not getting evicted. I get to stay. I would visualize for it. I would try my best to embody, but it didn't feel like I was that person yet. It didn't feel like that until I actually had it. So don't stress about living in the end. It's not always realistic to try to do that for some people, and that's okay. Some people can do it, absolutely. I'm not saying they can't. But for me personally, that's why I like to robotic affirm, because it was kind of hard for me to understand that. Maybe that's an assumption I have. I get that. But just don't stress out if you can't really embody this version yet. Eventually, you will. Now, for those who do enjoy living in the end, don't come at me for this. This is my perspective. This is how I feel about it. Everybody has their own opinion, so don't come at me. But do you have to live in the end to manifest? Technically, no. But if you want your manifestation, fast, deliberately, and with less chaos, yes, living in the end is the most direct way. Absolutely. I agree with that. I do. But it just wasn't easy for me. It wasn't. I was stressed all the time. I was an emotional wreck. I was going through shit. Yes, I was giving in to my circumstances, and I shouldn't have been, but I was. But I still persisted. And I still got what I wanted. Okay. I just want to make that clear. But why you don't have to. So you're always manifesting just by thinking, assuming, reacting. Even when you're not living in the end, you're still creating a reality. But the results might be mixed, slow, or based on unconscious fears. So, yes, living in the end is amazing if you can do it. I guess I just had the assumption that it was difficult for me, and I am able to do it somewhat now, but still not fully there. I do know that in the future, one day, I will fully be able to do this, of course. But right now, I'm still on my journey. I'm still learning every day. And now I have people to do it with, and I'm so grateful for that. But living in the end is truly powerful, I will say that. Living in the end is thinking from the version of you who already has it, of course. So that becomes your dominant assumption, and the 3D reflects it back. It cuts out the waiting, the hoping, the doubts, and it says, this is mine right now, it's done. And when you persist in that identity, reality has no choice but to conform. You can still affirm without living in the end, and that's what I chose to do. That was my route. Not everyone has to do it that way. You can do it how you do it, what feels best for you. This is what felt best for me and worked for me. So, yes, absolutely, you can still affirm without living in the end. But if you're affirming, I am loved, while feeling lonely and constantly checking the 3D, you're not in the end. Now, we're coming from still living in the end. So you're still in lack. So your affirming might feel like trying to get instead of already having. You don't need to be perfect. You don't have to live in the end 24/7. You just need to keep returning to it. Persist in the end, not perfection. You don't have to be perfect, guys. Just do what works for you. You do not have to worry about living in the end if you don't want to. You do not have to feel it. And living in the end is about feeling it. It's about embodying the version of you who has it, thinking like it, acting like it. Literally being the version of you who has it. So that just wasn't realistic for me. So do what works for you. Do what works for you.